We're going to start with Mimi Nedelcovych. How do you say it?
Nedelcovych.
Oh, thank you. President and CEO of the Initiative for Global Development. And Mimi, my question for you is, Africa's agribusiness sector is not only your passion, but also your past occupation. Can you tell us from a private sector operator and an investor's viewpoint how you would think through the missed agribusiness opportunities on the continent and what we really need to do to be able to crowd in and scale up the private sector?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Very quickly, I'll speak more from my background. The last 25 years as an agro-industrial developer, mainly in sugarcane and rice processing. I run now this past year the Initiative for Global Development, which is a group of business executives worldwide that are focused on their investments in Africa. But on the ag side, and really does fit into the whole integration side, I mean, I think the major driving factors are issues that have been raised before. The large population growth, I mean, we're going to surpass 2 billion, the urbanization, over 50%. You have, with that demand side, the potential of, facts been quoted before, you know, over 50% of the arable land in the world still is in Africa, and less than 10% of the water is any which way used. So I think what we're seeing is that possibility basically of the demand for the food, the demand for the value addition. I think that's really where the investment side is very interesting, because as you're having over half the people living in urban areas, you're no longer going to be, people are not going back to their villages to pick up the food. You're going to the supermarket. So you have all of the packaging, the smaller containers, the value addition to the food. All of this really fits right into all of the issues with the SDGs, and that is, in fact, the growth. It is the job creation. Most of light industry, if you've seen historically, in any of the countries going through development process, is often basically the transformation food to begin with on the light industry side. Where I think if I could just touch, and I know we're short in time, on the market size, that's also critical, because you have, and I'm primarily been mostly involved in investments in West Africa, where other than Nigeria, that's large enough to be its own market, all of the others, there's got to be a real truth integration of the economies. It's not a question of just saying we've got, so many people in ECOWAS. The fact is right now, you really cannot easily move product across borders. And for farming, it's all about, and value adding to the farm product, it's all about catchment areas, we call it. You're going to have catchment areas for where your raw materials are coming from, and the catchment area is basically where your markets are going out. And interesting enough, and I'll stop with this point, then, is that by and large, you have to irrigate, so it's a question of getting the value addition. You got to get better crops, clearly. And then the interesting part, rivers tend to be the borders, right? And you're irrigating off rivers. So I've so often have been in a situation where our projects are in border areas closer to the other country than the capital of the one we're operating in. So that issue of cross-border movement of product is absolutely critical. And if you can't scale, you can't be competitive. Where the small farmers come in is with the combination. I think it's one of the big issues that ADB is going to be focusing on, and that is bringing together the commercial ventures with the small farmers. There's not a problem with having small farmers as long as they're inside the value chains. That's the key. Then they can scale along with the factory, but the factories have to scale to be able to be productive. Thank you.
Really a very important development challenge. We've got to get our arms around. That's very helpful.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.